Lesson 2-1, Square Number Patterns. You're going to learn how to make rectangular arrays with counters. You're going to review square numbers and look for patterns in square arrays. And you're going to find square numbers through 100 and look for those patterns. What I'd like to start with first is building arrays. So you make sure you have out your Math Masters, page 51, and 40 centimeter cubes. They're like a dice. We're going to explore factoring numbers using a concrete model, meaning a hands-on model. And we're going to build those arrays and find the total number of centimeter cubes for each array. You're going to describe their arrays using words and phrases like, I have these many rows and this many columns, and how many objects are in each row, and the total number of those objects. So you may have to stop the tape now, get those items, and then turn it back on when you are ready. All right, let's do some mental math and fluency. 3 times 2, 6. 5 times 4, 20. And 4 times 3, 12. If you could not answer these problems as quickly as I just did, you need to be practicing them more at home. That is part of your homework assignment every night. Take home those math fact triangles. All right, I want you to arrange 32 counters, they're kind of like a plastic chip, into as many different rectangular arrays as you can. Choose one of those arrays to draw. So remember, you want to look for how many do you have in each row. Make sure they have the same number of objects. And then look at each column and make sure they each have the same number of objects. Each array has a rectangular shape. The product is the total number of objects that you have in that array. So if you have one row of 32, you have 1 times 32 equals 32. You have a 32 object array. Or we could reverse it and say you have a 32 by 1 array. Now let's try doing it with 2. Put 2 in either each row or each column. Stop the tape now and do that. Turn the tape back on when you're ready to start up again. Okay, you should have noticed that you have a 2 by 16 array or a 16 by 2 array. Same amount of objects, 32, just a different way to do the array. 3 times nothing is 32. So now I want you to go to objects with 4 in a row or a column and see what you come up with. Stop the tape now and do it again. If you have the tape back on, I'm assuming that you put it in either 4 rows with 8 in each row or 4 columns with 8 in each column. Either way, a 4 by 8 or an 8 by 4 array is still 32. So you had 3 different ways you could set up your array to make the number 32. And then if you count the reverse of those arrays, meaning instead of 1 times 32, 32 times 1, that's yet another 3 ways you could set up an array. You're going to explore different types of arrays. I want you to set your objects up in a 4 by 4 array. Stop the tape now and do that, please. When you turn the tape back now, you should see that I am putting the words up on the board for you. So each row has the same number of objects. Each column has the same number of objects. Each array will have that rectangular shape. And the product, the answer for how many you used, is the total number of objects in that array. So a square array is a special rectangular array that has the same number of rows and columns. A square array represents a whole number called a square number. So the first four square numbers and their arrays are below. 1. 1 is a square array. It has just one dot, and 1 times 1 is 1. You're going to notice that square arrays are when you can multiply the same number twice to get your answer. So 1 times 1 is 1. 2 rows by 2 columns. 2 times 2 is 4. That's a square array. 3 times 3 is 9. That's a square array. 4 times 4 is 16. That also is a square array. What would be our next square array? I'm hoping you're seeing the pattern by now. 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4. It would be 5 times 5, which is 25. Now I want you to turn to Math Journal, page 35. The instructions there are asking you to draw square arrays to represent the next two square numbers after 16. I just gave you one, so you need to put and circle that square array on here, and then you will do the next one for B. This is an assessment check for problems 1 and 2. So as soon as you think you have them done, please stop the tape, raise your hand, and I will come around and I will check to see if you have it correct. So remember again, you're going to draw square arrays to represent the next two square numbers after 16. The first square number after the 4 by 4 16 will be represented in A, and the one after that one will be represented in B. Stop the tape now, do those two problems, and raise your hand when you're done. Number 2 tells you to list all of the square numbers through 50. So you can use your counters or draw arrays if needed, or if you think you can do it mentally, go ahead and do that. Stop the tape again, do number 2, and raise your hand when you are finished. Number 3, how can you find the 10th square number without drawing the array? Number 4, list the first 10 square numbers, and then describe any patterns you see. When you complete this page, go ahead and bring it up to me because you can have different answers, and I want to make sure that I clarify if your answers are not correct. Stop the tape now and finish that page 35 in your math journal. And once again, this is just going to give you the answers, so I'm going to continue going on through that. What helped you identify the patterns in the sequence of square numbers? Hint, hint, I actually told you this answer previously, so if you missed it, so far you're only about 8 minutes in, you might want to rewind it, try to find that, and it'll give you the answer. This is a game page that we're going to play on Monday, subtraction topic. Let's solve these mentally. 5 times 7 is? 2 times what equals 12? What times 7 equals 49? And 9 times what equals 45? If you don't know these answers to fill it in, you may want to get out your math fact triangles and try to do that. I want you to get out your math journal again and turn to page 36. You're going to complete page 36, go back to the answer key, correct it. Any that you had wrong, please bring it to myself or Mrs. Voorhees or Mrs. Wolfcool so that we can explain to you where you went wrong. And the last thing you're going to do for this lesson is Math Masters, page 53, which is called Exploring Square Numbers. Exploring Square Numbers. Directions read, a square number is a number that can be written as the product of the number multiplied by itself. For example, the square number of 9 can be written as 3 times 3. So the square number 9 can be written as 3 times 3. So go ahead, finish the home link 2-1, page 53, and when you get done, start the tape back up. So pause the recording now. If the book is busy and you can't get back here, I'm going to slowly scroll down through the answers here. Please make sure that your answers match these answers, and remember you can pause the tape at any time to look at them. If there are any that you got incorrect, please step back and talk to myself, Mrs. Voorhees, or the paraprofessional within the room, and let's make sure you understand this before we go on to the next lesson. Thank you.